Greetings once again, fellow Zimbabweans. Today I'm going to talk about the issue of the liberation struggle and the war veterans, and how I believe that a government should create an environment that honors and respects the war veterans. Let me say this to begin with. I actually have got my late brother who was a war veteran, but the state in which he died is not very pleasing, because I believe the government could have done more and better. As a starting point, these are people who had little resources against a formidable enemy in the form of the colonial powers, but they stood their ground and they sacrificed their life. To me, those who are still living, they actually died, because they had actually put it across their mind to say, if I die, I die. But the reason why they went to war was because they wanted to protect Ubuntu, an African way of life that values fellowship, that values one another, that is not segregative. And I want to believe when they were doing that, they were actually doing it not only for themselves, but for the future Zimbabweans who were not even yet born by then. So the youth, those either who were going to be their own children, and every child of every Zimbabwean, they were one of the reasons why they went to war. To fight, to liberate the country, so that the country could move forward free. Now let me say this. It is at a constitutional level that whoever is the national leader of the government or of the nation must create structures and institutions that will ensure that the war veterans shall live with dignity and respect, and allow them to prosper and enterprise in every way of life that they want to get into. The Constitution is the highest law of the land. It is not a government policy, it is not a legislative act. It is a constitution. It is the national psychology of the nation. And that cannot be overridden by the executive government. So I'm saying this because the way we or a government should treat the war veterans of Zimbabwe must never portray the image that they are doing them a favor. Knowing that will let the war veterans to be free from any government interference. And knowing that the war veterans fought even for the future of their children, we must also appreciate the challenges that the youth are facing today. That they are actually not in sync with what the war veterans fought for. What every family in Zimbabwe who contributed to the war did not have this in mind. That their children shall lack jobs. That their children shall live scattered all over the world. That's a tragedy. And right now, most of the war veterans and those associated with the war, including all the public Zimbabweans who contributed, because they cooked the food, they supplied food, they provided security, they provided information. It is the parents who lost their children. It is the parents who have the children we call veterans today. And I believe that today, the way the war veterans are being treated right now with different factions in the war veterans and stuff is unjustified. Because war veterans are never supposed to be interfered with by the government. The government is only supposed to lay out infrastructure, systems that allow war veterans to be independent, to be able to do whatever they want to do as long as it's within the law. Right now, most of them are languishing in poverty. I, for one, know one guy who was mentally disturbed because of the war. He died a pauper. No one in the government cared about how he was living. And to me, I think that's going totally outside the mandate that's given by the Constitution. But the government is only supposed to be of service. It is only supposed to serve, not to interfere in the lives of the war veterans or anything like that. If they have got problems among themselves, that's their own problem. It should never be something that the government must venture into. Because all what the government needs to do is to allow them to have systems and structures that will empower them. And nothing beyond that. So what we see today is very unfortunate. That the very people who are supposed to be the jewel of the pride of our nation, they are actually living in abject poverty. And even those that we have given land and other resources, they've just been given them as a carrot and stick. That unless they continue to support a particular political party, whatever they've been given can be taken away. And unfortunately, this kind of message has been sent even to all public Zimbabweans. Those we have given land, those we have resettled, they are resettled on a condition that the government owns everything. You are only a mere stranger where you are. Is that the way a government should run? Is that the way we should empower people? How can people invest if they don't even know when they can be kicked out, simply because they don't go to a party rally, simply because they are not supporting a certain political party? They can be chucked out. But let me say this. People we have made to believe that should actually know that the Constitution is not an act of government. It is an act of the state, the whole nation. So that's a lie when people are told that whatever they have, it is owned by the government. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It is what the government should put across and save and make sure they implement it properly, to make sure that people have got long-lasting confidence in whatever they work for, in whatever they inherit. And this is the promise that I'm putting across. That all veterans should always, it's never too late, they should always be treated with the respect and dignity that they deserve. They are so valuable. They did a good thing. Until today, we must celebrate what they've done. But they must also let the youth, let the young ones, let the free Zimbabweans to go ahead and choose a leader that they want to move forward. They should not just hang around to say everyone who should lead this country must be a war veteran. Because in that sense, they would have lost the reason why they fought for the war. They wanted every Zimbabwean, they wanted the best minds and the best brains to lead their country, to further consolidate their freedom. And this is my promise. Thank you.